Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Booth Review. As always, I'm your host Ethan, my co-host Joe. We're going to talk about Week 5 of the college football season. Lots of ups, lots of downs. We're looking forward to getting into it. How you feeling today, Joe?
I'm doing all right, but can we discuss how it's only two of us now, just for a brief second?
Yes.
It's not gonna be two of us every week. I think our good pal, my brother, decided, decided we need to focus on other things, but he said he'd still pop in occasionally. He
Yes.
did. So in reference to that, I do want to talk about the question he wanted to ask this weekend. Wanted to talk about the two receivers, the Williams from Alabama and Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, and how good
Okay.
those freshman receivers are.
First off, Williams only being 17 years old, insane. Um, and especially at the level he's playing at, to me,
He's
like even that's insane for an 18, 19-year old.
well. I think I think what's crazy is I think they're both very talented, and but the issue is I don't think that we've seen the best of Jeremiah Smith. I like when I watch him, I think he's just being out there. Like he's not even trying. He's just kicking butt and playing the game. But like Williams had to go off in that Alabama Georgia game, and he made a nasty move. Like just
Yes.
half spin stood and then finished the spin and was gone. I was like, kid's
Yeah.
crazy. And I
And
only
it was
I think it's one A
clutch.
one B.
Yeah, and I mean it's tough because I don't really get to watch the Big Ten. I don't have Big Ten network.
Well,
Uh
that yeah. So you haven't gonna see any of the Ohio State
yeah,
games.
I'll have to
We
I
play
can
Iowa
look up
on CBS this weekend,
yeah, I can
so
look
you'll
at
be able to
highlights
see
and
some.
stuff,
Yeah.
but I do I can speak on Williams and that kid's insane.
So
Like I
for
said, only being
me,
17-year-old.
I've watched a little bit of both. Like I've watched every Ohio State game, being a big Ohio
Hmm.
State fan. But I've watched a little bit of Alabama. The kid's quick and shifty. Like those are great traits to have as a receiver. But like there were two one-handed catches by Jeremiah Smith in the game that like you just don't see like
Yeah.
back to back almost like within like 3 plays of each other, and he scores a touchdown off one. Like he's insane. Like I can't pick between the two. Even if I did pick, I'd be biased because fan I am, but you
I
know,
mean, are we talking possible Heisman finalists for two freshmen?
I don't not freshman receivers. I don't know, but
They won't
here's the thing.
win. They
Well,
won't
well,
win, but
I'm glad you brought that up because we still have our bet going on about Travis Hunter, and I saw favorites going on, and I forgot to screenshot it and send it to you.
is it Travis Hunter?
Travis Hunter is right now leading the Heisman hopeful.
He made
Um,
in, and I will say, rightfully so. Even though uh, Ward did have 4 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions in that game. It was a pretty tough game that he had to battle for. He didn't really get a chance to like Heisman stat pad. You know what I mean? But Travis Hunter, on the other hand, comes up with one of the best interceptions we've seen in the last couple years, in my opinion. Granted, do I think maybe he didn't really have to do it in such a spectacular way? No, but I mean, he got it done, and
who
it
cares?
was yeah, it was clutch for Colorado, and they're struggling, but at the same time, they're not because they're at the top of the Big 12 in the
Are they
standings right
really?
now. Yes,
Which
they're
which which
second.
which
They're
okay,
second.
so that brings me to last week's bold predictions and everything. And it was tied between you and Cody at two apiece. Um I am now in that race at two, and because I was the only one to predict anything that actually got and that was Colorado beating University of Central Florida because they were underdogs by 14
Nice.
and they won.
Um, and I will say, even though Cody will not be in the show as much anymore, if I haven't discussed it with him, I should have, but if he is up for it, I would really like for him to still be in that race. If he could just send you a prediction, and if he wants to at least, a prediction and an upset. and
Um,
we can keep track of his score as well. Just because he's already, I mean, he's already 2 weeks in. Might as well keep going for just a little something fun, you know.
and maybe we can bring that in. But let's actually jump into a few of these games this weekend. Did you catch any? I know something we've been watching
Yes.
lately.
We'll start off with the OU Auburn game. So Oklahoma goes into, of course, Auburn's unranked, yes, but they're still a really tough SEC team. And playing at Auburn is not an easy game to win, no matter their record.
I think Jordan O'Hare is actually considered a top 25 stadium to play.
Yes, it
It's,
is.
it's a tough out.
Yeah, that's
Um,
it's not an easy place to play, and no matter their record, they are a good home team. Um,
I, I I
and
think the thing was is like it was looking like they might lose, and then they got that pick six.
yeah, so I mean, it starts out good to start the game. OU gets the ball. Michael Hawkins Jr. 45 yards straight down the middle, touchdown, puts us up 7. OU doesn't score in the second quarter. Auburn does. They score 14 points in the second quarter, holding OU to nothing. So it's 14-7. You come out at half, OU only gets a field goal. So now it's 14-10. And then um, you get Auburn gets another touchdown. Okay. And then Michael Hawkins Jr. running it up, just gets out of a crazy sack, runs it up the side, jumps over some people. I love the heart this kid has, but as an OU fan, my quarterback putting his life at risk gives me a heart attack. But he
Well, you
gets
guys still
in.
got Jackson Arnold, the starter from the beginning of the season. Like, you guys should be
Yes,
happy with that.
yes, that is true. But this kid's a true freshman and he's showing a lot. I would really appreciate if he does not get hurt. Even if he does eventually take a back seat to develop further, I don't think he will because he is playing with some of the most heart, like up there with Danny Stuntsman type heart. Um, and then of course we're still down by 7. Not 7. We're down by like a little less than 7. And then Kip Lewis comes up with a pick six to end the game, and OU walks away with a win, 27-21. Uh, I mean, like I said, they're not a ranked team, but it's still an SEC win for OU. They put one on the board. They're 1-1 in the SEC, and they had to grit it out. But it shows the drive that they have to finish games. And I do think Auburn would have a better record if they could finish. I think that's their issue. They don't have problems putting points on the board in situations where they need it to get ahead. Their problem is later on in
Yeah.
the game finishing the game out. And they have a young quarterback as well who I think contributes to the problem with finishing. I don't think by any
Are you
means of
talking about Peyton Thorne? Peyton Thorne's a
he's
senior, bro.
he's young though. He's not like
He's a senior.
he's a young senior though. Like I'm talking age. I'm not talking. Listen,
I mean,
just ignore me.
maybe, but like,
Okay.
he's just not a great quarterback. He
He's
wasn't a
he's
great
not
quarterback in Northwestern.
he's not a
Like,
great quarterback, but that's where I come in at. I think he's part of the problem with not being able to finish. I think
I
he
mean, he
needs
was
to
21 for 32 with 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. So
let the interception
was huge.
was huge, and that's where I think the
He
problem
threw
lies.
4 interceptions to Cal,
Yeah,
and they lost 21 to 14.
that's and
So like,
like I was saying, I think that's where the problem lies is he gets flustered and he can't finish.
yeah.
I think they have a great
Okay.
team. They could be playing a lot better, but they just can't finish.
Well, I actually, I wa- I went, I watched a few games, and I was actually crazy story. Um, I watched in the Kentucky Ole Miss game, and I went to a birthday party for one of my little nephews.
Mhm.
And ended up somehow inside with a bunch of other people watching football games. But before that, I walk in all Ohio State shirt. I get like 3 people booing me. I'm like, what are we booing for? And military husband, wife, one's a Texas fan, one's an Alabama fan. They're like, we're gonna boo you because we're the number one teams in the country." And I'm like, "You guys do not get along on Saturdays, do you?" And they were like, "Absolutely not." And so we were sitting down watching the Texas game. So I did watch the Texas game with that fan, and he's just like hype about it, everything. I'm like, you guys are gonna lose to OU if you play like this against the way you guys played the first half against Mississippi State. He's like, nah, Quinn Ewers will be back. Quinn Ewers will be back. I was like, yeah, that's great, but like you guys told me Arch was just as good, if not better, and I don't think. I think he's still a young developing quarterback, and
Yeah.
he's good, but he's got talent, but you can tell he's a young quarterback.
And
And
he knows that. I think that's why he didn't transfer when he learned that Quinn Ewers was coming back, because he knows that he's still got a little bit of time before he hits where he thinks he's needs to be.
and here's the other thing. So then here comes another person coming in, and they're huge Kentucky fans. Just like, oh, we're great, we're Kentucky, we beat Ole Miss. I was like, that's great, you guys beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss was always going to be a pretender unless Jackson Dart was a Heisman hope, and he still might be. But it showed to me that Kentucky's got a really, really good defense, and I don't
It's-
necessarily knock Georgia as much as I do for that. But then I got into an argument, and I still haven't texted either one of them about it because they're like, Texas is going to stay number one no matter what. I said, no, you're wrong. Texas needs to win by 70 if they want to stay number one this week. Otherwise, it's going to be the winner of Georgia Alabama. And sure enough, Alabama's ranked number one in the nation.
Yep. And I mean, I think that's valid. I think Alabama should be number one right now. Texas should
They
be
have
number
the best
two.
one in the nation. Texas is 2, Ohio State's 3, Tennessee's 4, Georgia's 5, Oregon 6, Penn State 7, Miami 8, Missouri 9, and Michigan 10. So it makes it to where there's 5 SEC teams in the top 10, 4 Big 10, and then 1 ACC
Yeah,
is and then if you go to 11, it's a Big 10 team. 12 and
I
13
mean,
SEC, independent ACC, Big 12, yada yada.
speaking on the bracket real fast before we touch up on the key points of the Ole Miss game, um, it has been talked about that the SEC and the Big Ten are asking for four, each of them, four of their teams to get priority into the playoffs if they are ranked in
I
the top.
understand where they're coming from, but with the 12-team playoff and you're including the conference champion of the group of 5 team, it's not going to
Hmm.
happen. And the reason why is because when I go into my bracket, there's just not enough teams.
I mean, I just think
There's
it's
just not. If there was
ridiculous.
6, but they're waiting till the renewal in 2026 when
It
it's
makes a
speculated that
14.
it's going to either be 14 or 16 teams.
I mean, and like I get it because you want the representation, but at the same time, you can't ask for priority and not know if your teams are just going to happen to fall off. Because like, what if I know it's a huge long shot, but what if there's a year where the entire SEC just falls off and none of
Yeah.
them are really that good?
Oh,
It's
that's
like the big.
so going to happen.
It's like the big. They play like Big 12. You know what I mean? They're really
I,
none of them are
I
really
I
that good.
mean,
They're just battling each other.
it's possible, but it's highly unlikely. I
I mean,
just
yeah, it's true, but that's
it's an
my point
issue,
where I think it's unfair because it's highly unlikely, yes, but there's not a realm of possibility where it couldn't happen.
right?
And then you have the Big 12 getting screwed because maybe they have a good league that year, and but the SEC has priority.
Yeah, and the other thing is like the rankings are even trash right now. Like Rutgers is 5-0 or 4-0 with no big time wins except for they beat Virginia Tech by 3, who played Miami to a controversial end. And it's so like, and then you got Indiana who's sitting at 23, who's 5-0, and they're well, they didn't play anybody, but like they're not a team. They're not teams that aren't looking any worse than any of the
Yeah.
SEC schools. Like to me, it's like they are 1A, 1B on who is the better conference, and I think it's going to come down to one of the a team from one of those conferences winning the national championship, which disagree with people. Like I've heard a lot of people say it's Texas versus Tennessee for the Natty, and I'm like, it's not. I said you're
No.
completely overlooking teams like Ohio State and Utah and other teams
Yeah.
like that. And like even surprisingly, Boise State, they played Oregon to a touchdown, and then they go and wallop Washington State, who beat a Washington team that I thought was pretty okay, and they might not be, but Boise State beat them by 3 scores. Like Boise State is the best Group of Five team, and I would not count them out of a game, like legitimately.
I mean,
And
to be
so
honest, the way it's looking, I would probably say Tennessee and Alabama.
I I mean the SEC schedule coming up is a slate of we'll figure out who's the best.
Yeah.
So like I know I think this weekend you get another one of those marquee matchups in the SEC. So in the SEC this week you have Missouri versus Texas A&M. You got Ole Miss versus South Carolina, Alabama versus Vanderbilt. Which I've seen a few people be like Vanderbilt's going to be at Alabama. Which okay, let's hold the hate breaks right there. And then Tennessee plays Arkansas this week. And then next weekend we have the OU Texas game. Um,
I mean,
we get OU versus Texas, and then Tennessee versus Florida, Ole Miss versus LSU, and then I know Alabama will play Tennessee and Texas at some point. I think
yeah, I think they play.
or Georgia, Alabama plays Tennessee on October. So October 19th is where you're going to really find out who is the SEC because you got Alabama versus Tennessee and Georgia versus Texas, and then a young South Carolina team plays in Norman. So and
The
then
game's
like
already sold
Louisville
out too.
versus Kentucky, it's already sold out.
There's like three SEC games that are already sold out
I
in
mean,
Norman.
so like you're gonna find out who it is, and they're gonna beat up on each other. They do have a good 4 or 5 teams that are at the top, and so like if this was the year, like I could see them wanting Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas in. But if you go back to it, like if you look at it, and we can look at it after I do playoff bracket, like right now, I have Texas, Ohio State, Miami, and Utah as their conference champions. I still think Texas is the best in the SEC with Quinn Ewers healthy. Um, and then Alabama, Oregon, Clemson, and Iowa State, and then Tennessee, Penn State, and then Notre Dame and Boise State. So Notre Dame, if they win out, they're in, and you can't argue that even with the Northern Illinois loss. And then you get Boise State. So where would you fit 2 other teams in? And that's with the top 3 teams from each conference. But that's also leaving out Georgia, Indiana, Rutgers, Illinois, who all look good. Missouri potentially, and then you still got UNLV, who's going undefeated right now. Still, even after their quarterback sitting because of NIL, James Madison, who's got a cakewalk to an easy undefeated season, and so then another strange thing is if you look at Army's schedule, they get a chance to play Notre Dame, and they don't. I don't think they have another game they'll lose on their schedule until that Notre Dame game. And if they beat Notre Dame, they get in. You know what I mean? So
Army,
like,
Army gets in. You think?
if Army wins every game up to the Notre Dame game and then beats Notre Dame, and that's the only other loss Notre Dame has, Army's the Group of Five representative because that win over Notre
That
Dame
ooh,
would be better than the Boise State loss to Oregon.
that would be pretty cool
But
actually.
but then again, like why can't Army and Boise State get in? Like, but,
Because you're only taking one group
well,
of five.
you're only taking one group of five because you're like, oh well, who did they play? But like Boise State is dominating people.
I I mean, that would actually be a really interesting playoffs if Army gets in. I think that would be really cool to see.
But here and here's the question. And here's the question: what's the better conference? Is it the SEC or the Big Ten?
I would argue that's pretty tough.
Well, let's look at it
If
this
you
way. Let's go. Let's go. Let's
historically,
go.
I mean, obviously, but this year, let me look at. Oh,
So let's do it this way. The
that's a
number
pretty
one
tough one.
team, well, let's look at the top 25, and we'll do the top five teams from each conference, and we'll face them off against each other. Right now, it's Alabama and Ohio State. Who do you have winning that game?
I think I have Ohio State winning that game.
Okay, so Big Ten won. Texas, Oregon,
Texas.
1-1. Tennessee, Penn State.
Ooh, that was actually a tough one. I think they're actually pretty on par. I think Tennessee's just more dominant offensively.
Okay. So
Unless I would say that is a close one, but Tennessee wins
and
unless Penn State comes up with a big stop late in the game.
I want you to think about styles of play real quick on this next question. In particular, think about how Kentucky played Georgia,
Hmm.
and then think about this one: Georgia versus Michigan.
Thank you. Man, I would say Georgia, uh, just because I think
But
Michigan's
why?
missing. I think Michigan's missing that it factor, and I think Georgia is. Yeah, they're struggling early, but I think
Like
they are
everything that
a late
Michigan
team.
is good at, they're better than Kentucky at, and Kentucky proved that that works against Georgia.
That's true, but like as I was
So,
saying, I think Georgia will
and
pull it
that's fine.
together
But like,
later on down the stretch.
any of those are coin flips, right? That's just the
Yes,
first four.
yes,
Here's
they
where
are
it's
coin
not a
flips.
coin flip. Here's probably where it's not a coin flip. Do you take Missouri over USC?
No,
So that you probably give USC an outright win. You're not even saying it's a coin flip.
yeah, I mean not by like I think it's by a touchdown, but it's like a
But
convincing
it's the
touchdown.
only game that it doesn't come
Yeah,
down to like who gets
yeah,
ball
yeah,
last.
yeah,
It,
yeah, yeah. I think a
so
touchdown,
like
but it's like a convincing
it's even.
touchdown.
Yeah. So it's pretty even right there. And that's the top 5 teams. So like yeah, any of those 10 teams could be in the playoffs. But then it's just at that point you but just make it a 16 team playoff. Everybody else in every other conference, that's what they do is they play for those 8 other spots, and then the top 4 teams from each the SEC and the Big Ten play on the other side of the bracket, and you just call it like the NFC versus the AFC. That's what it'd be, and
Yeah,
it would
I
just
would.
be
I
like
mean, I would agree.
32 conferences. It's just not gonna work. I don't think it'll be passed, and then if it does, like what we're gonna look at is probably a new division of college football being set up to where it's like just Big Ten and SEC, and then everybody else, which it's all of the product of the NCAA being trash at organizing their sport.
Yeah, and I mean they started when they real, in my opinion, when they realigned and OU and Texas stayed in the Big 12 and they didn't go to the Pac 12 with a couple of those other teams, with Nebraska leaving to the Big 10. I think the alignment was good. Minus a couple of teams probably should have stayed in the Big 12. I'm talking region wise. Sorry, I'm talking regionally. It matched up well and it made sense. But then ever since it's shifted back to where teams are just scattered. Because like the Big 10, good regionally, and now all of a sudden, because of the Pac-12 dwindling, you have these teams over here in California that have to travel all the way across the country.
Right, right, and it's not fair. But here's the thing. I'm not worried about that because it's not. It used to be a region-based sport, but now it's what's the TV deals look, and that's
Yeah,
fair, and I get it, and that's fine. The problem is the NCAA is not a good enough product to keep a hold of what the college football needs to be. And there needs to be an overarching thing outside of the NCAA that keeps it in check and keeps people on par and in balance. And like it, it's not gonna happen probably because people are gonna sue people out of their minds over it. But like
uh,
transfers is wild right now. NIL is wild right now.
ridiculous.
Realignments are wild right now. And now the Big Ten and the SEC are like, hey, if we get one or two more of these other guys in here that everybody thinks is only a national contender, like a Miami or a Clemson or an Iowa State or Utah, then like there is no point in playing anything else because like half the top 25 and half the teams that are going into the top 20, like getting votes for the top 25, are Big Ten and SEC. And so like I get their point, but like it's a problem.
I mean, technically, it is a Power Four right now, but technically the Pac-12 is coming back. They have already
But
agreed
they're
with a bunch of
they're
teams,
adding
but
they're adding
group of
group of
fives,
five
yeah,
schools.
yeah, that was my
You would
point. So,
have you
I
would have
mean,
to bring in some like
so you're gonna have the Power Five again, but you're not at the same time
you're not because
because Pac-12 is not gonna
you're not
compete. Maybe two
not.
teams, maybe two teams can end up
The only
competing.
team that in the future Pac-12 is Boise State that's ranked right
Yeah. Uh,
now, and they just beat the brakes off of Washington State. Are we kidding?
but
Oh well, let me take that back. Is UNLV also going into the league? I think that I've seen that because UNLV
I
is
think
undefeated as well. So,
I think that one's still being talked about. I don't know if it's been confirmed,
but
or
they
not.
they added Gonzaga, which is a really good ad if you're talking basketball, but it does nothing for you football wise.
Yeah.
Um, but we can.
But to
Other than that, like I would not be surprised to see service academies be ranked. Army received 2 votes already, and Navy's got 6 for rankings right now. We can move on to a couple games to watch next week. Uh,
yeah, I do want to touch on who did you say was going to be a Big 12 contender?
I have Utah winning it and Iowa State being runner up.
If Utah's going to win it, they can't be losing to Arizona.
Oh, did they lose to Arizona?
23-10.
I forgot about that. Why did I
I
so
mean, they're
re?
not. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. It's only one loss in the Big 12, and I do see everybody in the Big 12 dropping one
What
with
was
OU
that?
and Texas not being there.
But that was a home game. Utah doesn't lose at home. I mean, now I look stupid for my playoff bracket. I don't know why I missed that one.
I mean, like I
I still
said,
believe in Utah. Utah is still probably the best team in the Big 12.
that's what I'm
But
saying. With OU and Texas not there, I can see every team in the Big 12 dropping a game. We're dropping one Big 12 game.
yeah,
So it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but they're gonna have to turn it around now.
yeah, I'm gonna have to watch Big 12 games this weekend because yeah,
Colorado scraped one out to stay undefeated. So in Big 12 play,
wasn't it 41 to like 20 something?
I don't know. Let me go back and look.
Which good for Colorado. It was 48-21.
48-21. Dang, it
But you
really. I feel like they scraped. I feel
did
like
you
that score
watch it?
doesn't. I watched a little bit. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I was at work. I get to work on Saturday, so I don't get to catch a lot of
I
them. But
I've
from
been
what
busy
I
too, like, but
from what I was
go
watching,
on.
like highlight wise, it looked like that score does not represent what the field looked like. I could be wrong from an overall perspective, but just from the highlights, it didn't look like they were just blowing them out of the water like that.
It looks like they had control of the game the whole game. It was 14-7 after the first, 27-14 at half, and then 41-21 going into the fourth quarter, and then they scored the last touchdown in the fourth. So
Okay, so more convincing than what I thought.
yeah,
Okay, good for them. Good for them.
which is kind of cool. Like
Yeah, I
Colorado's
mean,
not. It's interesting. They play Kansas State, so they're gonna have a real test. Like they played Nebraska, who I think is a really good team.
yeah.
And they lost 28-10. But like Baylor 38-31, North Dakota State 31-26. They
The
destroyed
big
Colorado State. They really beat on UCF. Kansas State this week, or no, they got a bye and then Kansas State. So,
I
but
mean, in Kansas State just pulled off a win against Oklahoma State, so
well, yeah,
that's
but
gonna be
Ollie Gordon isn't doing crap.
no, he's not.
But
That's gonna be. I think that's gonna be a key Big 12 matchup though for sure.
and I only
Looking down the
have
stretch.
4 games I want to watch. Like I have highlighted for this weekend for whatever reason, and it's
Yeah.
2 Friday games and an 11 o'clock game and a 2:30 game. It's Michigan State versus Oregon. I want to see what Oregon looks like against Michigan State after Ohio State just played them because we play Oregon next the week after,
Mhm.
and we played in Eugene, which I'm not happy about. And then UNLV versus Syracuse because can UNLV keep up the undefeated run? Like I don't think Syracuse is a bad team. They're not a great team. They're not bad. And then Missouri versus Texas A&M, and then obviously Iowa's always a tough out, and Ohio State plays them on CBS at 2:30. So I'll be obviously watching that one.
I will say I am looking forward to Missouri versus Texas A&M. Uh, it's at College Station. That
So is North
is,
Van.
yeah, that's a pretty tough stadium to play at. And then I'm also looking at Georgia versus Auburn. I'd really like to see how Auburn plays Georgia. Like you said,
It's gonna be in
it's
Georgia
yeah,
though. So
yeah, it's in Athens. But it's really just gonna be a testament to what OU has to look forward to because Georgia is a top team. Um, and they also play Texas. So depending on how Auburn plays Georgia and OU plays Texas, I think it won't shape out. Don't get me wrong; it's not going to shape out the conference championship, but it'll
I'm
shape
sorry,
out
but
how
OU does.
OU's going to look.
I don't think OU has a chance at the SEC championship
They
this year.
don't. They don't. But it'll
But
shape out how they're gonna how they're looking in the
they
SEC
need to
race.
they need to finish like fifth or sixth. They need to finish above Ole Miss and LSU. If
Yeah,
you want to prove that you belong in the SEC, you got to finish above both of them. I think because I do think that Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, and Georgia are probably better teams than OU, and I
hmm
would still think LSU and Ole Miss might even be too. But you got to be able to beat them out, at least one of them, and be sixth
yeah.
in
And
the
I mean,
SEC.
I would argue that Ole Miss could be better than OU, but I think they're on par with LSU. I think they just clean a few things up and they're on par. I would call that game a toss up. But the Auburn game or the Ole Miss game, if
But
they play, I don't remember OU's schedule
but
right
there's
now.
another team that we're not thinking about, and it's South Carolina.
Yeah, they play Ole
I
Miss.
do. They play Ole Miss this weekend, and I think that
I'd
South
like to see
Carolina
them.
can win that game.
I'd like to see them get that win.
And to be fair, the spread is only 9 for Mississippi State or Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss is only favored by 9 points in that game. It's
Excuse me. It's in Columbus too.
yeah. So is it really called
Columbus, South Carolina.
Columbia?
Oh, whatever. Same thing.
Got me thrown off there. I'm gonna fact check you on that
Oh,
one.
whatever.
But
Columbia, Columbus, same thing.
I mean, yeah. Do you want to do? I know we wanted to do a bit of a shorter episode today because we weren't quite sure how we wanted to run things.
Yeah,
With
and we do
Boston
apologize.
here.
I would like to touch on that. We do apologize for the episode coming out a little late. We had some technical difficulties that pushed us back a couple days. But we are looking to have every episode in the future come out Monday um, Monday of every week.
And so with that being said, um, I don't necessarily think we need to do the pick'ems anymore because it'd be me and you just picking the games. I think we talked about what we want to talk about. It's
I
a
mean,
couple other interesting.
I wouldn't mind doing upsets still.
We're still gonna do upsets in both predictions. Like that's not changing.
Yeah.
We do still need a punishment for
We'll figure it out. Leave comments down below. Let us know.
that. Not only just leave comments for that, leave comments for any segments you want to see, like see us talking about certain different things. I
Yes,
do already have.
if you have a topic, put your comment on the topic down below on any video, and I will reach out and try to get the information regarding the topic so we can talk about it, and we'll give you a shout out, and we'll try to touch the topic the way you want it, and see if we
But
can't stir up a little bit of controversy.
with that being said, I do have a bold prediction and I do have an upset ready.
All right, go ahead.
My actual upset is I do think Auburn beats Georgia.
You do.
Well, I mean,
That'd be good. That'd be good
Georgia's
for
favored
OU.
by 24 points. Um, so even if I can't get the 2 points for Georgia winning, I don't think Georgia wins by 24 points. I just don't see that.
Hey,
Well, I
that's good
could be
for
wrong
OU.
because Clemson looks better than how they looked against Georgia week one, which I think Clemson has a decent game coming up this week to really test them.
Dude, I'm actually bouncing between. I'm
Clemson
bouncing
plays
between two.
Clemson plays Florida State. I was wrong. Clemson does not have a tough test this week. They play Florida State. Um,
Yeah, Florida
y-
State's already got a decommit.
I mean,
They've already lost a recruit.
I think they fire their coach at the end of the year. Do you
You
have a
think
bold
so?
prediction
I have.
or, or
I'm
upset?
contemplating between two of them, two upsets. I'm looking at South Carolina to possibly upset Ole Miss. Um, and I'm looking at maybe an SMU taking down a Louisville.
What's the
Uh,
what's the spread on those?
Louisville -7, Ole Miss -9.
So either way, you're looking at a score or two scores. Like that's not terrible.
Yeah, man, this
I would. I mean, South Carolina does. They,
the South Carolina one looks good and it looks easy,
but does it? But
but the
like,
SMU one would be cool.
but SMU.
I'm gonna go with the more probable one. I'm gonna take South Carolina over Ole Miss in South Carolina. I'll take that.
It's a 9, right?
Yeah.
So I have a qualification
What?
for my bold prediction because you gotta take it all into context and then you can rate it. Let's be fair. Iowa's defense this year has given up 300 total yards, 18.3 points, 23.3 rushing yards. Passing yards is about 236.7, and they're averaging 1.3. That's the defense, right? Ohio
Mm-hmm.
State's offense is averaging 534 yards, 53 points, 227 rushing yards, and 307 passing
It's in
yards. Okay,
Ohio too. Yeah.
600 total yards, 40 plus points, one or fewer turnovers, 250 rushing yards, and 325 passing yards.
That entire thing.
That entire thing. So they're doubling what Iowa gives up, which is still more than their total yards. They're getting double the points of what Iowa gives up, but less than the points they average. They get one or fewer turnovers because let's be real, Will Howard's bound to just toss one up there. But no more than one turnover. 250 rushing yards, which is 10 times more than what Iowa's allowing, and still higher than what Ohio State's averaging. And then 325 passing yards, which is about 100 ish more than what they're allowing, and about 18 more than what Ohio State's getting.
Okay.
It's a lot, but
Yeah.
they have to hit every single one of those for me to get it.
Yeah. You got that wrote down, right?
Oh, I do. I
Okay.
write down them all, so I can go back and forth.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I'm looking. Okay.
You don't like my qualifying stats?
I do. I do. I would give yours 4 star.
That's fair.
4 stars.
It's
Um,
bold. It's a lot, but it's very doable.
yeah, the only reason I give it 4 is because it's really complex. Um,
Yeah, if it
but
wasn't complex, it would have been like a 3 or 2.
they're going against Iowa, and I think they are a way better team than Iowa by
But
miles.
Iowa's always got a top 20. Like that's why I was like, hey, this would be interesting because of how good of a defense Iowa usually has. But I do get it. I do think Ohio State has the talent to hit every single one of these markers,
Yeah.
and that's why I was like 4 star at least in my head. But yeah, I live with it.
Oh,
What's yours?
I'm looking at Oregon.
Okay. What are you looking about with Oregon?
Thinking.
Oh, did not mean to try to
Actually,
buy tickets for the game.
actually, let me back out of that. I want to pick a close game because I want to see what's going to be a close game. I already have an idea in my head. Uh, not even thinking of stats or anything, solely based off of what I would like to see. Um, it's going to be the Missouri A&M game, 100%.
Okay. What about it?
And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm thinking field goal kicker.
Field goal kicker.
All right, and I want Missouri's kicker. Right now, he's 11 for 16. Man, I wish I could get. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get stats for this guy. Because I want to see what his longest field goal is this year. I want to see if I can't predict a long one.
I think he hit a 61 yarder last year.
Oh man, that means it's doable. Okay, his
Yeah.
long this year is 56. He
His
scored
name is Harrison Mevis, right?
no. B. Craig.
B. Craig.
Let me click on his name so I can get his first name.
Okay, because the kicker
Blake.
last year
It's Blake
did.
Craig.
Okay, so the kicker last year did hit a 61 yarder.
Okay, so he has a 56-yard field goal. That's crazy. He is 0 for 3 from 40 to 49 yards, but he's 3 for 4 from 50 plus.
Okay.
That's actually a wild stat. What the?
So what is
That's it's
what
actually a
is your
wild
prediction?
stat. I want to see him go. Because I think this is gonna be a close game, and I think they're gonna have to pull out some field goals. So in one game, I'd like to see him go 3 for 3 with. Man, it's tough because if they don't allow it, 3 for 3 with a 60-yarder. Man, I hope they attempt a 60-yarder. I hope it's that tight of a game. But yeah, just the fact that he's 0 for 3 from 40 to 49 yards
You know what's even crazier?
is insane.
Do you know what the longest college football kick is?
Is it longer than NFL?
I don't know what the NFL record is,
I
but
think Justin Tucker kicked like a 66 yarder.
it's longer than the
Okay,
NFL.
so okay, I'm gonna guess
And Texas has the record.
Texas has the record. What year?
1977. Well,
Kicker.
and
Who's the kicker?
also Arkansas tied it in 1977, and in
Who's
1978 Wichita State tied
who's Texas's kicker?
it. It was Russell Exler Exelbean.
69 yards.
That's funny. No, 67.
Oh, really? It's only 1 yard more?
So you're saying he doesn't miss a field goal, he goes 3 for 3, and one of them is going to be.
60 plus.
And if he doesn't hit both of those things,
Yeah, it don't count.
uh, go 5.
Well, how about this? How about this? Can I go 3 for 3 and just say I would like, and it has to be not extra points, field goals. No, yeah, I'll keep it. 3 for 3, 160 plus. I feel like if I don't use the 60 plus, it makes it too easy.
Honestly, I'd still give you a 5 if you just say he makes 3 field goals. It doesn't matter how many he misses, and do the 65 or the 60 plus. He makes 3 field goals, and one of them 60 plus. I don't even care if he makes 3 for 3.
No,
I'm just gonna.
I want him to be perfect. I want him to be a perfect 3 for 3.
You're gonna hate yourself if he goes like 3 for 4 because he missed a 40 yarder, and he hits a 61 yarder.
Yeah, that actually
But
would be. I mean, with the way his stats look, he can't figure the 40 out for some weird reason, but he's got the 50 to a T. He's got the
gonna
30 to 39 to a T too. He's 5 for 5.
it's gonna be blocked. The game-winning field goal is gonna be blocked. You're gonna go
Okay. Last thing I'm going to say about this, I'm gonna just listen to these stats for this kicker. This is blowing my mind right now. He is 3 for 4 from 20 plus. Okay. 5 for 5 at 30 plus. 0 for 3 at 40 plus and 3 for 4 at 50 plus.
I'll give you a 5. I don't
How do you have the same record at 50 plus that you do at 20,
go.
but you're perfect from 30?
And you can't hit from 40.
And yeah, and you cannot hit from 40.
Hell,
Oh, you
I'm starting to
froze.
get some technical difficulties, so I think I'm actually gonna sign off.
Alrighty. Sorry for the late episode, folks. And sorry for the technical difficulties here at the end. Pretty wild episode, but we're looking forward to your comments on the YouTube channel. This is going up tomorrow, Thursday, October 3rd. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed our content and would like to see more, give us a comment about what you'd like to see. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I'm Ethan. That's Joe. We're up in the booth. That's the review. Thank you.